So I'm sure you guys have heard a bit about this new Italian leader that's going to be the prime minister, who won a pretty huge election in Italy. And it kind of is following in this trend we've seen in Europe of far-right leaders, or at least right leaders. This one in particular is a far right individual rising to power. And we're seeing kind of this global trend of a new brand of right-wing ideology become quite popular. And so we're going to take a look at this. Obviously, I do focus specifically on American politics, and that's why you'll see that a lot of international stories I don't cover. But this one does have kind of American aspects to it, and we'll look at a lot of the American right wing's response to this news, including Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, all the people in just a second here. But Italy's far-right Brothers of Italy party swept to victory in elections this week and is prepared to form the most conservative government in the nation since World War II. The head of the party, and now Italy's incoming prime minister, Giorgia Meloni, has pushed for a new direction in her country centered on Italian, Christian, and family values. And when we look at all the different responses from American right-wingers, you'll see that that's what they want to lean into. Hey, it's just about God, family, whatever. And they try to pretend like the outrage from much of the people across the world, or the fear at least, is all because she's saying that she supports families. Okay, come on. Or that she is a Christian. Come on. That's not, every single one of our presidents, has been a Christian. So yes, that's not the case. But it's this new brand of far-right ideology that tries to cloak itself in just being about family values and just being about God. That is much more than that. We understand it. And it's kind of rolling back the clock on some of these values that I think a lot of people thought the world was coming to, at least many countries in the Western world were coming to agree on. But that's not the case. And this Brothers of Italy party, very interesting, and part of the reason why this is scary is has its roots in the post-World War II neo-fascist Italian social movement. So that's where this party comes from, that she is the leader of. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into some of the responses to this. Tucker Carlson brought Carrie Lake on the show. And Carrie Lake, if you missed it, she's running for governor in Arizona. She claimed that if I don't win in the primary, it's because it's getting stolen from me, and blah, 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 blah. Very MAGA Republican, all that type of stuff. And she comes on Tucker Carlson's show to say, listen, if they're not calling you fascist and racist, then you're doing something wrong, or if they are calling you that, you're doing something right, which is interesting, just accepting those labels. And I understand people use those labels in bad faith all the time. So it's not to say that if you're called those, that necessarily is a reflection on your character, but I don't think you should take so much pride in the fact that these are becoming such obvious terms to associate with your movement. Take a look.
So you were one of the very first American politicians to weigh in on this election. You were paying attention, which I appreciated. What do you make of this?
I'm so excited. It's funny. I looked this Italian Ms. Meloni up when I heard about her about a week ago, and I couldn't find any just straight up information on her. Everything was, she's a fascist, she's a racist, she's this, she's that. And I thought, wow, this is somebody who I can relate to because they're doing the same thing about me. And it makes me realize that if they're not calling you all of these slurs, if they're not attacking you, then you're probably not truly representing the people of your country.
So you were one.
If they're not calling you all of these slurs, then you're probably not representing the people of your country. I don't know if that's a rule to live by, guys. But then here's kind of a good rundown of just a few tweets that have been sent out from Mediaite. So Charlie Kirk said, Trump has sparked an international movement from Brazil to Sweden to Italy. The only international movement Joe Biden ever sparked in the mass invasion, is the mass invasion on our southern border. In 2022, we turn the tide. So he's saying that Italy, is the most recent outcome of Trump's movement that he sparked worldwide, I guess. I don't know if it's Trump is the thing that sparked it. Probably not the case, but Trump is a symptom of the same root cause that is sweeping the world. Indeed, here is Lauren Boebert saying this month Sweden voted for a far right-wing government. Now, Italy voted for a strong right-wing government. The entire world is beginning to understand that the woke left does nothing but destroy. November 8th is coming soon, and the USA will fix our House and Senate. Let freedom reign. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene was responding to the speech that Meloni said and said, so beautifully said. Congratulations to Giorgia Meloni and to the people of Italy. So you can see, and we've also seen this trend as well. A lot of the American right-wingers are associating themselves more with right-wing leaders and right-wing individuals across the world than Democrats. They don't feel as associated with an American Democrat as they do with an Italian right-winger, let's say. And you can see this take its form in people like Tucker Carlson, who for some reason take the side of Russia in this weird, bizarre way in the war, in the invasion between Russia and Ukraine. And we've talked about, I don't really get why he's doing this, but the only reason I could think of is because Putin is also an authoritarian right-winger type figure, and he feels some sort of a kinship with that. Who knows? Here's one more rant by Tucker Carlson that he brings up an interesting point that I want to respond to in speaking about this new to-be Prime Minister of Italy.
If you want to establish totalitarian control over a country, of course you have to destroy the family first. Because nobody with deep family loyalty, the one thing every person should have, no one who has that will ever pledge absolute obedience to a politician. Why would you? So if you want absolute obedience, you have to sever family ties. And that's why state schools brainwash your children with values that you despise and then instruct your children to turn you in as a thought criminal if you object. That's happening. It's not your imagination. And
I do love whenever he'll go, that's true, or that's happening, right after a statement that I think the reason he adds that in is because even he doesn't think that people will completely believe him while he's saying that. And so he goes, listen, that's true. That happened, or that's happening. Really, really funny. But to what he's saying, isn't that hilarious that he says the reason the left doesn't like this far right leader is part of this big plot that's also taking place here in places like schools, to brainwash people, to break down the family, in a pursuit to have them completely obedient to one leader. Well, what's funny about that? Is it really the left in America who's completely behind one leader? Really? Really think about it, guys. Because I know a lot of Democrats. I know a lot of Democrats and a lot of Republicans. There are very few Democrats that I've ever met who are like, Biden, I love Biden. Biden's so awesome. Oh, don't talk about Biden bad. I love him so much. Most Democrats I know will go, yeah, I voted for Biden and I think this was good, but I don't know. He's kind of bad at talking and stuff, right? People on the right, if they're a Trump supporter, holy smokes. And much of the Republican Party is made up of Trump supporters. You cannot say one negative thing about Trump. He is the Lord. He is the emperor, in their minds. So it's so hilarious that in this defense of the far right leader, Giorgia Meloni, Tucker Carlson is pretending like the reality in America is the left is trying to make people completely obedient to one political leader. That is not a characteristic of the left. Plenty of things to criticize about the left. That's not one of them. And it's funny because it is so notoriously a part of the MAGA movement. But there we have it. The right wing very excited for the new leader of Italy.